everyone, it's me, Morgan Stewart, and I have a new podcast called The Morgan Stewart Show. Join me each week as I talk about pop culture, fashion, my personal life, and just a warning, I'm going to be giving my opinion on everything. I'll also have some really fun guests to join in on the fun. The Morgan Stewart Show is out now. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts or watch full video on YouTube.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
To get the Crime Writers on After Show right now, go to patreon.com/partners in crime media.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, journalists and police search for a retailer who's been selling a powerful poison to those on an online forum looking to end their lives. We'll discuss the CBC podcast, Hunting the Suicide Salesman. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband and the love of my life. It's Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Rebecca.
Also with us, private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of the Piper Green series of cozy mysteries. It's Laura Bricker. Hi, Laura.
Meow.
Oh.
Oh my God.
You're not a cat, though.
I decided to mix it up today.
All right.
I think someone had a brain fart
She's
when her name
speaking
got
her
called.
second language, you know?
Second language. I speak cat.
And finally, all the way from Valencia, Spain, author of a city trilogy, host of Rip Current, More Like Ancient Phalians, and the podcast soon to be a major motion picture, Strange Arrivals. It's Toby Ball. Que pasa, Toby?
Hey, I don't even know how to follow up on Laura. I was gonna talk about how I was still thinking about the Knicks, but that seems like kind of small potatoes after that.
It is. Yeah. It is. Kevin, this is Thursday's program. What's coming up on next week's show?
So on Monday, we're going to talk about the Netflix documentary Maternal Instinct. And then on Thursday, we'll be talking about the podcast. It's an Audible original. It's by Leon Neyfakh.
Yay.
It's called Only Fantasy. And it's about OnlyFans.
I feel like it's around, there's like a cycle of Leon Neyfakh. It's like every 8 months or so, right?
He's a busy dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I haven't listened yet, but when we talked about vaping, Leon Neyfakh like confessed his like nicotine addiction. And so now I'm just wondering, and when I listen to this, we're going to find out that Leon Neyfakh sells photographs of his feet.
Oh, that would be weird.
Seems like
it would be weird.
You'd be cutting in on me and Toby's business.
I know. I'm like some weird fetish of the ugly feet.
Yep.
So Kevin, there's something I wanted to tell you about because I've been able to educate the internet this week about something.
All right.
As you know, Mariska Hargitay's been getting a lot of love on social media.
Yeah.
Her team won. You know, she's doing this one-woman play on Broadway that's like an interactive play. And the internet, Twitter was all excited to see her in the theater. Apparently, the guy who plays her therapist showed up. And she ended up
in the play?
In the theater. And she ended up like going over and hugging him as people were taking their seats. And like I guess she moved somebody around so that she could interact with him in the play or something. I don't know. But
what therapist? You mean an SVU?
Her SVU therapist.
The Mr. Noodle?
I have been able to tell the internet that it's Mr. Noodle, and everybody's mind is blown.
That's Mr. Noodle, everybody. If you watch Sesame Street, Elmo's World.
Yes. Yeah.
Mr. Noodle's a therapist?
Yes, he plays a therapist in SVU who's been treating Mariska Hargitay's character, Olivia Benson, ever since she was kidnapped and almost raped by Lewis.
That's not the craziest child TV guest star appearance in history. Did you guys watch Sesame Street?
Of course.
Laura's like, I don't know. I had a generator. So the guy who played Luis on Sesame Street made an appearance as a janitor at a fertility clinic. And he was pushing a mop around And you could tell at that fertility clinic that mop had seen things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so had Luis, apparently. So
Yeah.
Well-
Also, Maria's played a judge on the show.
she has.
Gina has played a victim and,
She's been a few,
and a
yeah.
villain. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of Sesame Street crossover in SVU.
That's amazing. Did Luis have like a buddy who lived in the dumpster?
No, he didn't.
No,
Are you referring to Oscar?
Oscar the Grouch, man.
Oscar the Grouch had the best clapback on social media that I saw in the last couple
Oh,
of weeks.
really? What
Yeah,
did Oscar have to say?
Yeah.
I know Elmo was getting shit
Elmo
about
got
basketball.
a lot of shit because Elmo was like, I hope both teams have fun.
Oh, yeah, fuck
And
that.
Oscar was like,
Shut the fuck up, Elmo!
I also something else, Kevin, that I wanted to mention to you.
What's that?
Somebody on Twitter said yesterday that they really feel like there should be more TV made, prestige TV, where the Harlem Globetrotters make guest appearances.
It says,
What,
that's amazing.
What was that in?
Kevin has a thing on These Are Their Stories, our other podcast. On one of the episodes that we covered, he always does he always does a Hey, It's That Guy, where he runs down the actors and other things they've been in.
Yep.
And one of the actors was in. Kevin, would you like to explain?
Yeah, he was in an episode of the ABC After School Special. Again, either of you, do you remember that? The ABC After School
I
Special?
do remember that.
Yeah.
I do.
There was one, and it was called Read Between the Lines.
What was it about?
It was about an illiterate toy maker who has
Had a cocaine
the rights
habit?
to... The cocaine. Because he's between the lines.
Okay.
No, it's an illiterate toy maker who gets the rights to his invention stolen, and his grandson helps him get it back with the help of the Harlem Globetrotters. I don't know why.
Wow.
And the Harlem Globetrotters made an appearance on Gilligan's Island one time. It was
Did you see they were on the White Shadow when Carver High School
Shadow.
went on a winning streak and got cocky, and coach brought in the Harlem Globetrotters, who were working at a charity car wash, if I remember correctly. He's like, I'm bringing these car wash guys and they're going to kick your ass. And then they show up and they're like Magic Circle, Salami and Thorpe and Coolidge and all those guys. An Italian guy on the team named Salami.
They did. They did.
They had all those scenes where they're all like showering together at the same time, facing each other. Like, oh my God.
The White Shadow was wild.
And singing
also the problematic
doo-wop
name,
songs.
The White Shadow.
The White Shadow, yeah. That was a great... I used to watch that show religiously.
Me too. And for those who haven't picked up on the clues, the White Shadow is the white basketball coach at a predominantly black school.
Predominantly black school where they've got two white players on the team, an Italian named Salami and a Jewish guy named Goldstein.
Wow.
Deep cuts with Toby Ball.
Oh, well, at least we don't have any stereotypes.
All right. Kevin, we need to transition into something tougher to talk about.
Oh, you mean this isn't going to be a laugh a minute?
It is not.
Okay.
So you ready to talk about the podcast we're going to talk about?
All right, let's call Mr. Noodle in and brace ourselves. Let's do it.
Leading off.
I said, what are they doing with them? We need to test them. Test them for what? For what he's taken.
One of the vehicles that had shown up was a mobile lab.
So they tested the glasses and said it's sodium nitrite.
Relatives of those who died by suicide discovered their loved ones had been active in online forums for those looking for ways to end their lives. They were directed to a retailer selling fatal quantities of sodium nitrate to people in crisis in more than 40 countries.
So I just went to the website and saw what was for sale and, oh, this was great. How easy was that to get hold of? And yeah, I didn't purchase it immediately, but the website reminded me I had something in my shopping cart. So at that point I was really low and I just bought it.
Police and journalists hunted down Kenneth Law, who admitted to selling to hundreds of people worldwide. But authorities wanted to know whether Law was just providing a lethal product or whether he was actively pushing people in crisis to take it.
Everyone gets to choose. Why are we choosing it? Why are we seeking it out? Why are all of these people going to seek this guy?
The CBC podcast Hunting the Suicide Salesman recounts the effort to stop Law and shut down the business of selling sodium nitrate. Host Daemon Fairless goes beyond the criminal investigation and takes an unusually frank and intimate examination of the issue of suicide, including causes, prevention efforts, and the hidden online world for those who consider ending their lives. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about plot points from Hunting the Suicide Salesman. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews. So Laura, this is a quick podcast, 5 episodes. It's obviously by Daemon Fairless, a host I loved in Hunting Warhead, which I think is one of my top 10 podcasts of all time. He sounds great. It sounds great. But what do you think about sort of the length and scope of this reporting?
I think this was the right length to tell this story. It gave us the ability to zoom in and hear from family members of people that died by suicide and zoom out and get this global impact of how far Kenneth Law's actions and his suicide substance spread globally. And the reporting and the journalism was very well done. They did some things I was like kind of jealous of, some of their reporting techniques that were authorized in this. But I think it was something
the reporter who's allowed to go and try to buy suicide medication from the guy? Yeah.
So you just tell the police, James asks, that you don't know why this person has bought it? Ken says yes. And he adds, it's even easier when he's shipping internationally since the UK authorities have no jurisdiction in Canada. They're not going to bring me over to the UK for this, he says with a chuckle. It's too small.
You know, and this is something that really is a topic that is hard to frame. How do you talk about suicide in a way that is, in this case, highlighting this issue while being respectful and aware of people that have experienced this among family and friends and their loved ones? And also, how do you do this in a sensitive way like that? And I think this was able to do that. I think, we had the family members, then we go into Kenneth Law, we find out a little bit about his background, we find out about the investigation, how they bring him to court, what they charge him with. And then the sort of coda to all of this is, let's talk about what we can do to help people that are feeling like they would like to end their lives by suicide. And I think that last episode, that coda, gave some really good information, because a lot of times we hear this and we think, gee, this is like a horrible situation. Like, what can we do? Well, here's what we can do. And then at the end, we hear Daemon's personal reflection on why this story resonated with him. So I think a lot of times we listen to these podcasts where it's like, they're like, we have to have 10 episodes. You could have stretched this out. We got the whole story. We got everything in those 5 episodes.
Kevin, I want to ask you, because you were a former TV journalist, and I know that there are not rules, but kind of like guidelines around discussing suicide in the news and in reporting. Yeah. And I think Daemon Fairless does a very bold thing here, where he's like, I'm not going to give you the traditional trigger warning, because this is something I really think we need to talk about. How do you feel about how that was handled?
I thought it was great, actually. I mean, it's a trigger warning nonetheless, even though you don't call it that. But I think the way he framed it was more like an invitation to talk about it. This was a challenging listen, no doubt, and it is not for everyone. And, he says it basically saying, if you're not in the right mind space for this, then this isn't for you.
Move along.
Move along. There's plenty of other things that you can listen to.
It might not be what you want to listen to if you're not in the right place. But I'm also really hesitant to warn you away, because I think we do that too often. And I think we need to have this conversation. So I'll leave it up to you.
As he points out, we don't really explore the issue of suicide in a way that doesn't just try to avoid the painful stuff.
Yeah.
I like to think of it like this. Instead of picking at a scab, we're just going to put it under the microscope and observe it that way, in a different way, to the extent that you can take the emotion out of it and sort of look at it from different sides and okay. But I mean, it's still very human. We hear from a lot of different people who have suffered the loss of a loved one. We also hear different people from sort of different aspects of life and from the situation. But no doubt getting into it, and I'm sure we'll talk about certain aspects of it, things that worked and didn't work, but it's just setting it up as okay, we're going to be thoughtful about this, but we are going to go there. And I think it's beneficial to do that. And so that kind of invitation gets us, okay, I'm in. Let's dig it out.
Yeah. So Toby, I think a lot of outlets wouldn't touch this story. And I think Daemon Fairless has a great track record of reporting a very difficult subject matter in a way that is incredibly compelling. He made Hunting Warhead, as we said. What do you think about his approach here?
I mean, I think the thing with this topic is that you need to have the right person leading it. It's not that it shouldn't be talked about, but it's tricky to talk about well and responsibly and, in a way that's not timid, but is kind of deliberate and knows what it's trying to do. And I think that's what he's able to accomplish, which I think is pretty remarkable, quite honestly, given sort of the range of stuff that ends up being brought up here, because he's dealing with, families of people. He's talking to people who survived. You get people reading transcripts of people describing their last moments. This is like as heavy a stuff as it gets. He's talking to people about the worst moments of their lives, right? It's just done in this very sort of calm, mature way. Like, it's very impactful, but it's really just letting these people kind of talk. I thought it was just really interesting just to hear the way they talked about that stuff without having some kind of narrative put on top of it or trying to tease out different things. It's just like, this is their experience and the way they describe it. So it's not like it's exactly perfect in every part, but it just feels like really like top level stuff to me. I mean, it just seems like getting on a very, very difficult subject and approaching it in a way that's intelligent, mature, sort of confident in that he doesn't feel like he has to impose things so much. He can let the people's interviews or the communications or whatever sort of make their own points without intruding on that. So I thought that was really A+ stuff.
I thought so too. I also think the sourcing in this podcast is incredible. I mean, the opening story that we hear is like so devastating and so beautifully told by, the family member of somebody who died by suicide. And as you said, he lets the subjects tell the story, but he doesn't do the thing where he plays endless amounts of tape and you just can't wait for it to be over. Like, it's not that, in my opinion. It is very heavy, Laura, right? I mean, this isn't something that, I listened while I was doing other things, which I always do when I'm listening to podcasts. But this isn't like a play out loud in the car on a road trip kind of podcast.
I did. I listened to it in the car, but it was, I would like listen to an episode and then I would like, okay, I'm going to listen to my like some light music for a little bit and talk to somebody on the phone. And then I would listen to the next episode when I was on another leg of wherever I was driving to around the state. I mean, it's definitely something that's important. It's an important issue to explore, but it's a heavy topic. And it's like one of those you kind of have to titrate out, especially if it's something that you've experienced, somebody that, has gone through this. It's suspenseful. It's, heavy. It's intense. It's a very intense topic and it's a very emotional topic. And it's hard to hear, number one, what people have gone through and to think about, finding loved ones in that situation, but then to hear about the manner of death when somebody ingests this sodium nitrate and what that was like. That was hard to listen to. But at the same time, I had never heard of that before. So I think that this was something that was really, I'm like, this is information that is good to have awareness of, but also at the same time in small bites and pieces.
Yeah. Kevin, I talked about sourcing a second ago. What do you think about the sort of proliferation of sources and voices in this podcast?
Yeah, I mean, great job. I tried to touch on that earlier, is that we got to hear from a lot of different angles, but for something that's built around a law enforcement investigation, did we hear from one cop?
I don't think so.
I don't think we heard from any cop or prosecutor. I mean, there was some tape from a press conference, but that isn't where they went with this, right? but you got to, not only did we hear from people who lost loved ones to one of these sales of sodium nitrate, but we also hear from, doctors who were, involved in medically assisted suicide. People who attempted suicide and now are presenting their views. We hear from people talking about that and then who later died by suicide. And it's just interesting how the different ways they brought it around. They even had somebody talk about how he thought that forum was beneficial to him.
Right. Because
it provided a community. Now it's, I think even Damien was like, well, people could argue with that about, it's not exactly great. And it's true. It's a very imperfect forum for that. There is a small sliver of people that are in crisis or have these, these thoughts. They don't feel like they can go to mom and dad or family.
Yeah.
It's lonely.
Yeah.
They feel like this is a place that they can go. And while many people are there looking for instructions or are in a place where they could be toppled over to go that way, there's a small number of people that find comfort in that. That's a voice that I don't think you would hear.
No, it was brave to put that in there.
It was brave to put that in there because it just sort of shows not only how complicated it is, but also there is a through line to that, which is that these people want to be understood. They're looking for some kind of comfort, and the impulsivity we know that statistically that a lot of suicide attempts, they say 15 minutes earlier, they were not thinking of actually killing themselves. There's a lot of impulsivity, and they said clicking on a mouse to buy that, impulsive.
Yeah. So Kevin, I think we should transition to the business section without a joke.
Yes.
What do you think?
If you're looking for podcasts that are not nearly as heavy,
yes,
then you can join us on Patreon.
We're in the business section.
Yeah, it's patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. You get all of our stuff at the leading off level. You get the Crime Writers on After Show, Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast, our advice podcast, Married with Podcast, Rebecca and Mel's True Crime podcast, Something's Off. And if you're a Bricker scaler, you get all that, including Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker, in which Laura Bricker solves mysteries, or at least mysteries to her, in her quaint AF town of Exeter, New Hampshire. If you join us at the Let's Do What We Do level, you get episodes of Crime Writers on early and ad-free. And if you are a deep diver, you get all that, and you get to be an exclusive sponsor of Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club. And just this week, Toby and his guests recorded their latest book. So make sure that you read Murderland so you can keep up with the discussion. Now, we also have an Amazon storefront where you can see some of our favorite things. Rebecca, what are this week's Amazon recommendations?
Well, Kevin, I love my handheld red flag, yellow flag, green flag that I bought on Amazon.
So it's quite literally you bought a red flag.
I bought a red flag, a green flag, and a yellow flag. It was a set.
Okay.
And that way, when I'm recording my YouTube show and we're talking about somebody who sucks, I can take out my red flag and wave it around. When we talk about somebody who's awesome, like lawyer David Yannetti, I take out my green flag and wave it around.
This is something every household should have.
I agree.
For when they start to gossip.
Yep.
And you're like, when your girlfriend talks about the new boyfriend, pull out, just all of a sudden,
red flag.
Take that red flag, wave it a little bit. Yeah. That's great. Toby, what are your listener-inspired Toby Ball's deep cut recommendations?
All right, I'm going to start off with one that you cannot get in Spain, as far as I can tell. And that is Bush's Best 8.3 ounce canned vegetarian baked beans, source of plant-based protein and fiber, low-fat, gluten-free pack of 12. It's a lot. I eat them. A lot of fucking.
I didn't order those, but I eat those.
12. Oh,
I eat Bush's baked beans all the time. Do I not, Kevin?
You do.
They're
for
so
breakfast
good
with my eggs. Yeah,
they're so good. And I'm going to go down.
You can't get baked beans in Spain?
Well, you probably can somewhere, but not at the local consume.
Probably have to make them. Yeah.
Got to bake them.
God, making baked beans. Come on.
Molasses and bacon. Come on now, you could do that.
It's the bean part that would be harder.
I don't like homemade baked beans as much as I like canned ones.
I wonder if you can get molasses here. It's weird the shit you can get and not get in Spain. If you guys want chocolate cereal, you're in fucking luck, dude, because there's a lot of chocolate cereals here. Go Believe bottle opener, magnetic beer opener with fridge magnet, home kitchen tool, personalized refrigerator magnet bottle opener for beer and soda. LO. I don't know if it's LOL is gonna it's funny or what the last word is supposed to be, but
Go Believe?
Lift off.
It's Go Believe bottle opener.
Lift off the lid with the bottle opener.
LO, you think it's the beginning of lift off?
I don't know. I just made that up.
You did?
LO?
LO?
Are you surprised?
Loft off. It's a fucking bottle opener.
All right. That's it. We love it.
Right.
You can shop us first when you go to Amazon. Amazon.com/shop/Crime Writers On. We earn commissions on qualified purchases.
All right, Kevin.
Yeah.
Before we end the business section, do we have any Patreon patron saints of the week this week?
Our Patreon patron saints are Tara Heff and Sav Haley. Bless you.
Finally!
Yes.
Finally, we got Sav Haley, our best-looking listener.
Sav has been...
No offense, Tara. I'm sure you're also very, very good-looking.
Sav has been a longtime supporter, and the last time I saw her, she said, I was wondering why I've never been picked for patron saint, but then I realized that on Patreon, I'm like Uncle Jesse or something. It was like she has some funny name, which is why she's not in there as Sav. So I keep looking for her. But I finally just said, Sav, I don't know what your name is in there, but you're just gonna be patron saint of the week, so I can just end this great mystery.
Do you guys remember what Sav was wearing the first time we met her?
Yeah, she was wearing a t-shirt that said, I enjoy a feud among subcultures.
That's right.
Girl
She's
after my own heart.
She's hardcore. She goes way back to the beginning of the show. Tara and Sav. Tara, I would love to hear your story as well. Write us, and I'll talk about you next week if you want. Thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. We so appreciate your support. It's patrons who are basically the engine behind this show. It's how we can continue to afford to do it, and it's how we make it happen. There's expenses associated with making the show, and you help cover those. So, Kevin, does thus end our business section?
Yes, Sav just messaged me. She's under Rankin Fitch.
Oh. What does that mean?
Fitch. I think it's like Bill Rankin and Atticus Finch.
Oh.
It's from Runaway Jury.
Oh, that's her name, Rankin Fitch.
Yes, she said, I signed up at a very Gene Hackman time of my life. Okay.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right.
How did she know to text you right now as we're talking about her?
I just was looking up her picture on Instagram,
Yes.
which sounds super creepy.
It does sound super creepy.
It's not creepy. That's what I do every day, all day long, Kevin.
And also, she grew up in that place where all the mermaids are.
Yes.
Sav's
a great, very interesting person. Yeah.
All right, Kevin.
Yeah.
Does thus end the business section?
Thus ends the business section.
Let's fade that music out.
Hey everyone, it's me, Morgan Stewart, and I have a new podcast called The Morgan Stewart Show. Join me each week as I talk about pop culture, fashion, my personal life, and just a warning, I'm going to be giving my opinion on everything. I'll also have some really fun guests to join in on the fun. The Morgan Stewart Show is out now. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts or watch full video on YouTube.
So, Kevin, who's the sponsor of this fine podcast?
Oh, we're sponsored by Quince.
Shut up.
Yeah, summer is the perfect time to rethink the clothes that you've been reaching for every day. You take all those clothes that you bought from Quince in the winter, all those nice sweaters, you put them to one side of the closet or in a different drawer, and you bring out all of last year's linens, get the new ones to add to it.
Yeah.
Rebecca, what have you recently purchased from
Well,
Quince?
you know I love a linen shirt.
Yes.
And I have a couple of Quince linen shirts, the European linen. I love the dark blue with the white stripes is my favorite one. I have a white one. I've got a pink one. I've got a solid blue one. They are the most versatile, cute shirts. I wear it over a bathing suit. I wear it out to dinner. We were on vacation. Remember, I wore a linen shirt every day.
Yes. And in fact, for that vacation, you purchased me 2 pairs of swimming trunks.
Yes.
Bathing suit, whatever you call it.
Yes.
And I'll say that, ladies, that if you purchase one for your man, be sure to
Get the short one.
Get the short one.
It's
Tell
cute.
them you're not an 80s surfer.
No.
You don't need it down to your knees. Look great, look elevated, and save money. And by the way, Quince is not just about clothing. It's your destination for elevated essentials across the home, kitchen, bedding, and beyond.
Elevate your summer wardrobe. Go to quince.com/crime for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too.
Bonjour, hi.
That's QUINCE.com/crime for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/crime.
Okay, imagine this. A honeybee is out here doing her thing in an orchard, lands on a mystery apple blossom, then carries that pollen over to a Honeycrisp tree. Fast forward a few months, and no exaggeration, something amazing is born. The Sugar Bee Apple. Packed with notes of honey, caramel, and molasses, plus an extra crisp crunch, Sugar Bee Apples are perfect for snacking, baking, and everything in between. Download our new free recipe book and find a store near you at hellosugarbee.com. Sugar Bee Apples, naturally sweet from bee to you.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
So, Laura, you mentioned it earlier, this sort of undercover work that the journalist ends up doing here. Can you flesh out what exactly happens there and what you thought about it?
Yeah, I think this was amazing. So, Kenneth Law has his website where he's selling the sodium nitrite, and then for $200 you can get a consultation with him about what products might be good for you. And the journalism team gets the okay to go in and pose as a prospective client and see what he's going to say. And so you hear the story that Kenneth Law gives a prospective customer about, no, I've been doing this. I'm sending it everywhere. And don't worry, and it's no big deal. And basically kind of laying out how to use this and how to get it and how it's not hard to ship. And he's done this in all these places. But then when they go back and interview him and they identify themselves as journalists, now he's all like, no, I don't know what anybody does with this after I send it to if that's their choice.
Law responds, I'm not assisting anything. I'm selling a product. James pushes back, arguing that Law knows the product is used for suicide. Law responds saying it's his customer's choice, that he isn't forcing anyone to do anything. He also says he'll continue to sell his product because his batch hasn't run out. I have inventory to sell, he says.
I think it was really interesting to go in under the guise of being that customer. It made me a little jealous. I always have to identify myself as a private investigator. Ethically, I can't go in and spy on somebody and pretend to be somebody I'm not. I have to identify who I am and who I'm working for.
Yeah.
So, but I dream of being able to go undercover like this. And I was like, this sounds so interesting. But I think it was interesting because at that point, there was a period where Kenneth Law was giving these interviews and trying to sort of justify, and explain what he was doing. So yeah. I thought it was interesting, from that journalism perspective that they were given the okay to do that, because I don't know, Rebecca, in your newsroom, would you be able to go in
No. And
I just felt like that's not something. Yeah. I mean, I know as a PI, I can't do it, but as a journalist, I'm like, usually you have to identify who you are. So the fact that they were able to do that was pretty interesting.
It's in our code of ethics at my station that we can't do that. So, Toby, we hear about Kenneth Law. He's this guy who works in a kitchen. Sodium nitrate is also apparently like a food preservative or something. That's kind of the commercial use for it.
At a different, purity.
Exactly.
Not 99.9% pure.
Exactly. And there is this kind of moral question that the podcast raises, which I super appreciated. I mean, there are people who really, and please excuse me, listeners, for saying this, but the podcast covers it, people who wake up in the morning wanting to die every single day. And then we hear from, this guy who is a medically assisted suicide person who believes it's their right to do so. So there is that argument that we do hear in the podcast. The podcast isn't making that argument. It's just one that we hear as part of the examination of this issue. And then you have Kenneth Law. Thoughts?
Yeah, well, I guess my thought was, if it was a person and his mission was to be able to, empower people who wanted to end their lives in a way that was, relatively painless or whatever, I still think that's not the way to go, but at least, it would make a little bit of sense. That's clearly not his thing. He's just trying to sell his product, which comes through because he pretends he's somebody else on this forum and, recommends his product as being the best thing to use. And, this is where you can buy it and all this stuff. So
he's just meeting a need, Toby. He's meeting a marketplace need. Mm-hmm.
He's got an inventory to move.
Right. Yeah. He found a niche and
that's basically what he says to the guy. Right. And he's like, hey, do you ever send this to England? He goes, all the time.
So
shameless.
Yeah. So he's basically just trying to make a buck off of people's suicidal feelings. I mean, it really, it's the worst kind of preying on people who are vulnerable. And I think what the podcast sort of makes this point is that often this is a fairly quick decision, right? And that it's not that by enabling somebody to do it quickly, you're sort of removing barriers that often keep people from doing it. So it's more than just sort of providing a method. It's making it easy for people to do it in ways in which, when there are barriers, whether they're intentional or unintentional, often prevent people from doing it. And they do talk about how people who survive will talk about how they're I can't remember if he put a percentage to it or whatever, but a lot of people, like, their feeling is regret that they had done it, like wishing that they hadn't. So, I mean, it just seems completely morally indefensible, quite honest.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't apparently even try. I mean, he's just like, he's trying to make a buck, and this happens the way he wants to do it. It's just hard to wrap your head around somebody who's that sort of amoral,
craven
in their dealings.
Yeah.
Because he sounds like a jerk, actually.
Yeah, there's that.
I'll just put it there.
A putz.
A pud. Yeah, it's funny because I would have expected this guy, actually not to be as old as he is. This seems like something that like a crazy 30-year-old would, but you would expect that he would have this long history of scams and cons, and like somebody that like would go from one con to another and just kind of went up to this. And not to say that he sort of like naturally fell into it, but like, can you imagine being sort of like this chef at a fancy hotel and you're like,
not even a chef, like you're cutting carrots all day.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you could do the cheese platter.
Yeah, no.
He was not terribly good. But you're right. He had like his talking points down. And the idea that he actually was also Goldberg, that sort of mystery that he finally confessed to that when he did his allocution when he was sentenced. But I'm like wondering, like, how does a local cop even start to investigate this, right? You call up the local police and you're like, well, my loved one committed suicide and here's the receipt from where they got the money, and all the people who are there, like, they all citizen sleuthed. They go on the forum. They see how bad it is, how widespread it is. What's the recourse? It just seemed like I'm surprised because it just seemed like there was no way to sort of coordinate that. Yeah. It definitely seemed like, law enforcement in multiple countries were sort of on it, and to the way that, certainly the Customs was completely on it. Yeah. They flagged it, and then what happened? Those local cops knocked on doors. Are you okay? Even Daemon got a visit for, purchasing the items for his stories.
The police had come to do a wellness check. After I explained I was reporting on it, one of the cops told me the Border Services had flagged my order as soon as it reached Customs. Since Law's arrest, police have continued to do checks like these whenever Border Services alerts them to an import. Over the years, they've done dozens. And in a few cases, they've been too late.
He certainly found a place where he could be almost untouchable.
Yeah. Laura, Daemon does tell a very personal story at the end of the podcast. You touched on it earlier. Do you think that works? Like, can you just unpack it a little bit for listeners who might want to hear about it and not listen to it maybe?
Right. So, we go through the investigation, we go through hearing from family members, and then that coda at the end is like, how can we help somebody, or how can we be there if somebody is considering death by suicide? And, it was an interesting choice that he talks about somebody that's, going out to this bridge, and this particular bridge that is, we have one near us, the Piscataqua River Bridge. And as a journalist, I often covered people jumping off of that bridge to end their lives. And they talk about, and then he shares, I've been that person. Daemon shares this and what was going on in his life when he reached this critical point where he was feeling overwhelmed to that point.
It got to the point I couldn't relax or find comfort anywhere. Sometimes it felt like I had an electric current passing through me. And my inner voice turned against me. It just would not let up about how shitty I was, how ugly, how stupid, how selfish and worthless and burdensome. Then I started thinking about dying.
And I thought that was really interesting to reveal that at the end and not the beginning. I feel like if it had been revealed at the beginning, I don't know if it would have landed. And I don't want to say it's not, it landed very authentically and very genuine in the way that it was shared at the end of this podcast. And I think at the beginning, it was more of like, we're listening to this really in-depth reporting, this very sensitive reporting around this issue. But I think it takes away the stigma around suicide when somebody like that says, yeah, I've felt like that. And I considered whatever it was I considered when I was at this really low point. And I think talking about it in that way and being brave enough to talk about that on a podcast that you are hosting, hopefully will go a long way towards, somebody that listens to this being like, hey, there's a shame, there's a stigma around talking about this. But at the same time, it really humanized this story at the end in a way that brought it home and felt very meaningful.
Yeah.
Laura, I agree with you. And we have seen this on different levels in different podcasts. I mean, somebody like Dan Taberski will talk about, in surviving Y2K, there's a personal story to that. Jane Marie does that in The Dream, and there are other ones people talk about sort of their personal connection to the story. Leon Neyfakh, who we mentioned earlier, right? And I'm sure there are a lot of other journalists out there that have experienced similar things. So you're right. It was just so authentic and it landed the right way, his vulnerability, but also because, he's taken us through this journey already to tell us at the end, I think made it much more powerful. Yeah.
Hey everyone, it's me, Morgan Stewart, and I have a new podcast called The Morgan Stewart Show. Join me each week as I talk about pop culture, fashion, my personal life, and just a warning, I'm going to be giving my opinion on everything. I'll also have some really fun guests to join in on the fun. The Morgan Stewart Show is out now. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts or watch full video on YouTube.
Okay, imagine this. A honeybee is out here doing her thing in an orchard, lands on a mystery apple blossom, then carries that pollen over to a Honeycrisp tree. Fast forward a few months, and no exaggeration, something amazing is born. The sugar bee apple, packed with notes of honey, caramel, and molasses, plus an extra crisp crunch. Sugar bee apples are perfect for snacking, baking, and everything in between. Download our new free recipe book and find a store near you at hellosugarbee.com. Sugar bee apples, naturally sweet, from bee to you.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. From roof repair to emergency plumbing and more, when you use Angie for your home projects, you know all your jobs will be done well. Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find a pro for your project at Angie.com.
All right, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out Hunting the Suicide Salesman from CBC Podcasts. Laura Bricker, thumbs up or thumbs down for this podcast?
Yeah, this is a thumbs up. And it feels weird to give a thumbs up for something related to suicide. This was not an easy listen, but this was something that was just wild in the scope of the man behind selling these products that we're hearing about in this who is the Suicide Salesman, and the global implications of this. I think, this was a podcast that was extremely well reported. It was approached with care and sensitivity to the topic. And it also brought all different sides of the issue of suicide and related to this case that we heard about, from family members that had lost loved ones and friends, to the person behind this operation, to what we can do to help others and what is the most effective way to help somebody that is considering suicide. So it was definitely not something that you're going to binge watch and get through all at once. It's something for me, I kind of titrated out how much I was listening to and when, but I think it was a very well done, thoughtful, extremely well reported podcast.
Toby Ball, thumbs up or thumbs down for Hunting the Suicide Salesman?
So I'm a really big thumbs up for this. In some ways, I think this is a kind of thing that podcasting at its best does really well, because there's sort of freedom of time and subject matter, and you don't need to sensationalize things. It just felt like it was just a very mature, smart look at a really difficult topic, but I don't even, it's just treated with such sort of respect for the audience too, that the audience can kind of understand and be able to think through these things. When you hear from, parents of people who died by suicide, people who considered it and not done it, there's all these voices that you get without being told what to think about things. Like you listen and you can process. And then in addition, there's this whole other part of it, which is about a guy who is basically trying to help people facilitate things in order to make a buck. I don't know. I just thought this was excellent. Going into it, I was like, how is this going to work? But you get a sense of it almost from the beginning, and I'm talking about the very beginning, where there's like this trigger warning sort of, which again, I think is just very respects the audience. And it's like, if this isn't where your head's at, don't listen to this. But for other people like this, I think this is an important thing to talk about. And if your head's in the right space to listen to it, I just thought this was, again, just really, really top notch.
Kevin Flynn.
I'm a thumbs up. This isn't for everybody. It's a tough listen, but it's an important listen. And Daemon Fairless is probably the best at exploring the dark corners of the internet and, what it says about us. And that's what we're doing here. He's looking at not only a crime, but an economy and about a community that needs help, but is trying to find different ways of dealing with this. And they certainly made the case here, a difficult way, that these folks could, be pushed one way or the other. What the CBC does so well is to find crime stories that end up being about bigger things. Mm-hmm. So while, yes, this is a hunt for somebody who'd been selling chemicals for people to end their own lives, it ended up being a gateway for a very sober and intimate and incredibly important conversation about the issue of suicide in a way that we don't usually engage with. We generally just will try to find a way to move past the topic because it is so painful. And this is an invitation to set that pain aside and look at it from a critical aspect through the lens of this crime. So for all of that, again, not for everybody in a certain moment. Maybe you have to take a break from it. But if you are willing to engage with the topic and some very, very good journalism, then this is something that you need to listen to. So thumbs up for Hunting the Suicide Salesman.
This is a huge thumbs up for me. Huge. And I actually want to make a pitch right now. I've done this one other time on the podcast and I manifested it into reality. So I'm going to do it again. Daemon Fairless, Chris Oak, Arif Noorani. I know 2 out of the 3 of you personally, sort of. I would like you to have me moderate a panel with you guys at a podcast conference to talk about this show and covering the taboo on your narrative podcasts, because this is the second show we've heard from Daemon where you're covering something that no one else will touch. People don't touch this topic. They're afraid to. They're afraid of the so-called contagion around it. They're afraid of talking about methods. They're afraid of all of that because as journalists, we have been told that we can't. And we've been told that there are certain ethics around it that are just too dangerous or too whatever. And you took this on head on and ended up making a fantastic story out of it. I actually did binge listen to this whole thing and I found it incredibly compelling, hard to listen to, but very compelling. I wanted to listen to each next episode when I was done with one. A huge part of that is the people that you found to speak with. And yes, I'm still talking to you guys. This is a pitch, remember. The people that you found to speak with who I think through their voices give us permission to consider this in a different way because you're like, you know what? if this person is here talking about this in the frame of this story, I should be allowed to engage with it and be thoughtful about it and think about this in a way that may be a little bit different than the sort of like taboo, don't touch it, don't repeat it, don't talk about it way that so many journalists are told to do. So I absolutely love this podcast. And one last thing I want to say about it is it sounds fantastic. Hunting a Warhead had one of my favorite soundscapes of all time. When that first came out, that show had like sort of like a techno electronic sound to it. That really melded with the sort of dark web subject. And the same thing here. The soundscape is great. The audio is fantastic. The quality of Daemon's writing and hosting is just
and his
absolutely
voice. His voice.
Oh, along with Gilbert King, one of the best voices in podcasting. Hands down. I think CBC podcast is one of the final bastions of great narrative audio. I think about all the podcasts we've reviewed from CBC. I think about, Finding Nexium. I think about Missing and Murdered. I think about all of these stories. And then, you hear, I think, except with a couple of public media stations aside, and maybe one or two things from, a great podcast house that also has to make a lot of crappy things. I think about sort of like the scope of the work of CBC and the kinds of things they do. And some of them are like smaller and some of them are bigger and some of them are kookier and some of them are, it's just fantastic. So I just see this outlet as like a final bastion of great narrative audio. And please, I will travel to do a panel with you guys. So if you want to do one, I will moderate and ask you smart questions that will make you seem really good at your jobs.
If you're buying, she's flying.
You don't have to buy, I'll still fly. All right, that's going to do it for us. But before we go, Laura Bricker, I have to ask you a question I ask you every week. Do we have a cat of the week this week?
Yeah, so everybody sent me that cat that jumped on stage during Romeo and Juliet and was like in the guy's head. But that's not the cat of the week. Everybody's already seen that. We have, just for you, Rebecca, a dog.
Yay!
From Fiona Gow. It is. Banana is a 3-year-old Heinz 57-pound special.
Nice.
Who looks like a grumpy permanent lab puppy. He says he loves Crime Writers On because mom gives the best walks when she's listening.
Nice. I love him. I love this dog. Does he look like a grump? Is there a picture of him?
Happy little puppy. Yep.
I absolutely love everything about this. Laura Bricker, if folks want to reach out to you on social media and pitch any kind of animal to be cat of the week, how can they find you there?
You can find me at Laura Bricker on Instagram and Blue Sky.
All right. I'm looking at this dog right now. What's its name?
Banana.
Banana has like crazy eyes in a way that I super like.
He's looking like, why are you taking my photo?
Banana is just like, looks like he's either going to like fall asleep immediately or thinking about eating the couch, but isn't going to do it, but he has the crazy eyes. Toby Ball, folks want to reach out to you and say hi on social media. How can they find you?
At TobyBall603 on Instagram.
What about you, Kevin?
I'm at Kevin P. Flynn.
You can follow me everywhere at Reb Lavoie. You can follow the show on every platform at Crime Writers On, but mostly you should join our Facebook group. It's rad there. And you should also sign up for our newsletter at crimewriterson.com. It's free. It's a window into Kevin's mind. I super like it. Get everything we make at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. Lots of extra content there. Our theme song was composed and performed by Ty Gibbons. The executive producer and editor of this episode is Kevin Flynn. This show was recorded in the Caitlin Rogers Project Studio, also known as Studio C, The Closet, in our New Hampshire basement, where we also have an online community that's supportive, friendly, and life-affirming. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you later.
Toby, Rebecca's going to Chicago.
Nice.
Remember we all went to Chicago that time?
I got attacked by a bird.
Yeah, and you're like, oh.
You had to buy a shirt because your wife was ashamed of your clothes.
Yes.
You got attacked by a bird and fashion shamed.
That's right.
And yet you still don't believe the owl theory. All right.
I still don't.
Partners in Crime Media.
Hey everyone, it's me, Morgan Stewart, and I have a new podcast called The Morgan Stewart Show. Join me each week as I talk about pop culture, fashion, my personal life, and just a warning, I'm going to be giving my opinion on everything. I'll also have some really fun guests to join in on the fun. The Morgan Stewart Show is out now. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts or watch full video on YouTube.